Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now looking at the put to call ratio right now, it's at 0.55. It's really not that, I mean, it's a little below the normal. I shouldn't say normal, but like the, it's not really low, but it's not, too low. You get what I mean, I guess. That's kind of hard to, so yeah, low would be underneath 0.50, that's at 0.55. So it's low, but not really like extremely low. So, now looking at the economic calendar this week. Now this is going to be interesting this week because we have elections over with, FOMC is already over with, and we get some inflation numbers coming out. So we'll get to that in a second. Monday on the economic calendar, tomorrow is Veterans Day. The banks are closed, but the market will be open. I don't see any news. Tuesday, some Fed speakers throughout the day. Wednesday we have CPI month and year, and we have some Fed speakers throughout the day, so that could be interesting. Then we have Thursday, we have more inflation numbers. We have core and PPI and unemployment claims on Thursday. Then we have Powell at 3 o'clock. So then on Friday we have core retail sales. So yeah, we get some stuff to look out for this week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with inflation numbers. Are they going to give out the real numbers this week? Because they've been fudging, manipulating the numbers for elections for several months. No one believes the inflation numbers. Nobody believes any of the numbers that come out from the government. And if the numbers actually are bad that the government puts out prior to election, it means it's really, really, really bad. In fact, for them to put out any negative news or negative data. Now that the elections is over, maybe they don't hold back anymore. Maybe they put out the real numbers and we see what's really going on underneath the hood, and they start showing how bad the economy is and how bad inflation is. No one believes inflation is 2.4%. Anyone that does is kind of dumb, because it's not 2.4%. Because if it was, it would reflect on the prices at the grocery stores and at the pumps and stuff like that. It's just not. It's not there. It's total bullshit. So I'll be interesting to see how the numbers come out this week. That could be a huge thing. Now I got VIX up, and the thing I'm putting out right here, I got the weekly up. This is from when Trump was in office. See how VIX was. I mean, this was, I think this is where this big spike right here is where the Fed speakers changed, where Powell come in, and that's why we had this massive pop. But the thing I want to point out is that this thing likes to find a bottom right around 12 to 11. So it gets down below 12, closer to 11. Then we have a little bit of a pullback. It gets back to 11. So 12 to 11 is probably going to be the new floor once Trump gets back in office. I don't think that we're going to end up seeing that kind of scenario that we had back then. Back then, we had tariffs, and this big massive pop right here was because of COVID. So yeah, I'm thinking we're going to have the same kind of scenario, that the VIX floor is going to be 11 to 12, and basically you're going to just buy the dip, and VIX is going to get crushed, and then you stop buying the dip, and you start looking at the waiting for the drop and VIX to pop a little bit, and the market's not going to drop too much with Trump. Assuming that's the market we get when Trump was office. I'm just copying and pasting basically what I think is going to happen this next 4 years when he was in the office too. But we have so much economic data that's so been fudged in so bad, and the Fed's done all kinds of flooding the market, and then her rates being so high, and then might start cutting rates, inflation rocket again. So, and debt's so high, we could end up going into a temporary bear market. I don't know. It's kind of hard to determine what's going to happen, but I think that anything that ends up happening will be short term, and I think that we're going to end up seeing VIX go from 12 to 16 or 20 periodically every month, couple months or something like that. So that's just my take. I mean, I could be completely wrong. We could end up going into a massive bear market. They could kill the market and blame everything on Trump, because they've been propping it up for so long. I don't know. It's going to be hard to figure out what's going to happen. I'm just assuming, based on when he was in office, that we could end up seeing the same thing. Him just pumping the market, VIX getting crushed, and small little pullbacks here and there, just enough to get VIX to pop and the market to grind more. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. We'll see. We'll take it one day at a time. But this past week, basically, SPY has just had this massive gap up from elections, and it just every day it just keeps grinding and grinding and grinding. So got a bearish divergence going on in the weekly and the daily, but the problem is bearish divergences can last a long time. We've seen it with Roku and Baidu. They can last months. They can last half a year before something happens, and I think that any pullback is probably going to be short-lived. I mean, we could end up seeing small pullbacks like here and here and here. I don't think we're going to see anything too deep with Trump in office, unless something happens, or more invasions come, or conflicts in the Middle East or something like that, or the Fed does something crazy, or if Powell does get fired, which they say he can't get fired, but Trump will find a way if he wants to. If something happens with the Fed, that could end up sending the market to a massive flash crash if something happens, because the market doesn't like uncertainty. And if the Powell gets fired, that's going to create uncertainty. And that last pop that I showed back in 2016 at the beginning of this video was Powell leaving. I mean, a Powell coming in, and the market does not like having Fed chairs switch. So I'm just pointing out some things that could possibly happen. So I don't know. But as far as the market, I mean, this week, unless the inflation numbers come in really, really, really bad, we probably could end up seeing more just slow grind days. But I know that the hourly RSI is at 77 with an 80, but look, it was up here at 80 right here, and it just still went up as it was sitting right there. So yeah, this thing can still grind up to 620, and RSI could stay high. In fact, RSI could go down, as it's been doing over here on the weekly. It's been going down. Same with right back here was at 75 right here. We had that drop, and you should see it's going up, but RSI is really flattening out as it's going up. We could see the same thing continuing to happen. So we could just be a slow grind, gap and grind kind of days. We could end up we're going into the Santa rally season, so we could end up pushing to 610, 620. I mean, at this point, we keep going up $5 a day. We could be at 650 by the end of the year if we keep staying at this rate. I don't know if we will or not, but I'm just saying to watch out. We get over 600, but we're going to push to 610. But I could also keep an eye on and get some gaps to fill down here at 592 and below 585. I don't think this gap's going to fill, but I mean, no, we don't know anything. Inflation could come in really bad, and the market could end up dumping and filling this gap. So try not to be too biased on just the market going straight up. And see, the thing is with this market going straight up and buying the dip all the time just creates such bad habits, and that's how people end up getting crushed, because everyone thinks they're an expert and everyone thinks they've figured out the market, because you can't lose when you're always buying the dip. And then COVID happened and everyone lost their shirt. I mean, we could see something like that with the Fed, a recession, war, anything could end up happening out of the blue. So just creates bad habits on that. So I know I'm rambling a lot, but I'm just so much uncertainty right now. It's kind of crazy. So Amazon, speaking of seasonal, it had a big pop after elections. Friday was red, but it gets over 210 going into the Christmas season. We could probably push to 220, 225, 230 on Amazon. Amazon could keep going. It's flagging right here on the hourly, so over 210 be a good area on Amazon. BA is, it's just hovering over 150. If it gets over 155, we can see it push to 160, 165, even 170 on Boeing. I wouldn't be looking at the downside too much. I think it's eventually going to end up bouncing. Weekly RSI is pretty low, so you can end up seeing something on that. Microsoft. Microsoft, I mean, it's pulled back a little bit, but I would watch calls over 426 for a gap fill of 430 to 440. Gets up for 440, see 450, and so on. Meta, I would keep an eye on Meta too. Pretty much the same thing. If it gets over this high on Thursday, over 595, push to 600. It gets over 600. You get a lot of consolidation, of flagging on the weekly. That gets over 600. We could see 620 pretty fast on Meta because it's flagging right here on the weekly and it's coming back up to 600. So it does break that. We could end up seeing a short squeeze on Meta. So definitely keep an eye on that. Tesla, I was looking at. I mean, we got such a massive jump on this. I mean, RSI is just crazy high, but this is from elections right here. So I wouldn't even know how to play this. I mean, I would stay away from it. I mean, it had such a huge run right here, short squeeze. It's kind of too high to be looking at the long side, and it's too crazy to be looking at the short side. I would not touch Tesla, and I know I'm just bringing it up just to look at NVIDIA. Another one you could probably keep an eye on. Over 149, gets over 150 area, it's probably going to shoot to 160. NVIDIA could keep going. NVIDIA just pulls back a little bit, then Rockets pulls back a little bit, the Rockets. So we'll have to see if it has any continuation over 148 or 149. Gets over 150, 160 is probably in the cards. So that's all I'm pretty much looking at this week. There's so much unknown this week with inflations and data and stuff like that. So we'll just take it one day at a time and play it based off what we see in the pre-market and go from there. That's why you need to be in the room. So that's going to do it, and thanks for watching.